That's what my unpredictable hair sounded like before Frizz Ease. Sound familiar? We'll stop the crunchiness and celebrate your curls with Frizz Ease Air Dry Waves. It gives you defined, touchable waves with soft, feather-light movement. No heat required and no frizz. And that's the sound you'll hear and feel with your defined, touchable waves from Frizz Ease. Frizz Ease Air Dry Waves, only from John Frieda.
Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Fort Bragg's backyard, this is the show that put the 110 Nation on the map. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation, and you're listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show, covering each and every sport across the board. There is no sport too large or too little. It's time to talk the talk. Here we go. Here's the man, the founder, and your host, Mr. CJ Sports.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I'm your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. And also check out our company site, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Glad to be here on this Monday evening. I don't know why I was about to say Monday morning. I don't know. It's just been one of those days. My body's still, because genuinely, traditionally, I guess, routinely, I guess the word I'm looking for, I normally get up about 10 o'clock these days. I go to bed about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, varying, and usually that, give me my 8 hours sleep, it puts me about 10 o'clock. With the daylight savings time, of course, it was 11 o'clock. My body was still getting used to getting up at 10 o'clock. And so I kind of slept half the day away because I was only up for a little bit and caught another nap. But I had to play catch up because Friday nights I helped babysit, and so therefore I was up real late, and I maybe got 2 hours sleep and had to be at work at 5 o'clock in the morning. I worked 5 to 3, then got off. I got my son, and I felt bad because I was trying to schedule the Dirt Talk Hour for Sunday last night's show, and I'd already picked up my son, and here I am. He's got the TV on. He's watching some. I don't know. I kind of sympathize, well, not sympathize, but I kind of feel bad for kids these days and the cartoon garbage that is displayed on TV that they actually got to watch. It's just horrible. I don't know what he was watching, but I had no interest in it. But I'm sitting here trying to schedule the show for Sunday night, and I'm dozing off like that quick. I'm not even going to speak like 3 minutes. And the next thing I know, my son gets up and he's elbowing me, waking me up so I can get the show scheduled. And I finally get it scheduled. I turn the chair, and I'm trying to watch whatever he's watching, and the next thing I know, I'm dozing off again. And so I get up, and I was like, look, I moved to bed, and I was sitting there watching TV with him, and could not really, I don't know why I'm yelling, but I could not really get into what he was watching. So I was like, look, we got a couple options here. That way we can go we can go to the park, which is where I'm located at now. I'm like literally 2 minutes from the park. Or, I can go, we can go to the Red Box, get you something to eat, and we can hang out and watch a movie together. And he's like, well, let's do a movie. And normally he would do the park, but I don't think he was just feeling it. And so we got a movie, we hung out, and I went and picked daughter up on the way home, dropped them off, and got back about 10 o'clock. And so here it is. And I'm laying down at 10 o'clock trying to get my sleep on, and knowing that I got to be back up 4:30 on Sunday morning. And I come to this dilemma. Daylight savings time, your phone is supposed to adjust itself, but from past experience, I know that it doesn't always work right first thing at 2 o'clock. I've seen my phones in the past adjust at 7, 8 o'clock, later in the day, never at all, and I've had to adjust it. So now I'm laying here with the uncertainty and not sure whether or not my alarm clock is going to be going off at what used to be 4:30 or what now is 4:30. So basically either 3:30 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning. And so I am kind of confused. And I bought an alarm clock because when I used to live with Shorty, she slept on one side of the bed, I slept on the other, obviously. Well, she would set her alarm clock on one side on her phone, and I would set mine on the other side. That way, there was no possibility of me just hitting an alarm clock in my sleep, hit the snooze button or turn it off, that there was one on the other side of the room. So I went out and bought myself an alarm clock. And for $16, it's a little snifty, a little more high-tech than I was expecting for $16. But so therefore, it keeps its own time. I never had to set the time, which I don't know how that works on a $16 alarm clock, but it does. And there ain't really a lot to it, but it's one of the things it does do. So now I'm still in the dilemma because I don't know if this clock is going to properly adjust itself at the right time at 2 o'clock in the morning, shift up to 3 o'clock or not. So now I set my alarm clocks to go off what would then be 3:30 in the morning, and I got my alarms going off at what would be 4:30 in the morning, just to make sure. And it took me a good 20 minutes to even hear my alarm clock the first time. And I saw that it was almost 4 o'clock, so I got to lay it back down. But I didn't get to sleep well. And so with all that going on, I have to work 5 a.m. to 4, and then get off, I have to go and do laundry and catch the race that I DVR'd, so I caught all the race. And I got home, and I forget what I did. I did some stuff, and I didn't get to bed. I had a late visit, and so I didn't get to bed until like 12, 1 o'clock. So I tell you what, sleeping until 11 o'clock is still awful great. And getting the other nap, I mean, I really needed it, and that's probably why I'm still on it. I still hadn't caught up from all the lack of sleep that I got all weekend long. But I tell you what, it's been an adjustment, but glad to be here. Glad to have the opportunity at 7 o'clock. We did Rubbiness Racing. If you didn't check that out, make sure you like us on Facebook. As a matter of fact, make sure you like us on Spreaker. We did that over on the Spreaker network. Myself and Steve Billmeyer, we was on there for about an hour and 25 minutes. We had a blast. Recapped last weekend's race, getting you guys ready for next weekend's race. So make sure you guys check that out. It's over on Spreaker. You can check out the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network over there. It's on our Facebook page, the 110 Nation Sports. If you're personal friends with me, it's on my page as well. But you can get the link over there. Also got it reposting on Facebook tomorrow morning and Wednesday morning in case you guys missed it. But had a blast doing that. Now I get to sit here and have the opportunity to sit here and talk to y'all tonight. So definitely looking forward to that. Oh, interesting. I tell you what. Crazy how the everything just kind of rotates back around, and here we are, ready to already be talking about baseball. It's just crazy. Cleveland's now won 6 of 7 after stopping through 3-game Cali swing, capped by a 24-point whitewashing of the L.A. Clippers, in which Cleveland incinerated a defense that entered Sunday ranked 5th in the NBA in points, also allowed per possession, and 3rd since Blake Griffin got injured. Time and again, the threat promised LeBron James driving past Luke Richard Mahama, who Wesley Johnson, Jeff Green, or whichever other LA defender drew short straw, capsized the Clips, creating openings that led to a wide-open shot either directly or after the ball swing. James finished with 5 assists and 4 secondary or hockey assists, according to Sports BU, to go with his 27 points. Cleveland shot maker feasted on scramble D with J.R. Smith and Channing Frye combining for 10 of the Cavs' season high, tying 18 3-pointers. On the other end, Tyronn Lue's club held the Clippers to just 90 points, their fifth lowest point total of the season, on 40.5% shooting, which was more than enough to both win and remind us that, as CBSSports.com's Matt Moore put it, when firing on all cylinders, the Cavs team remains an elite tier, even if they are bottom of it. The East still runs through Cleveland by not by default, but because the Cavaliers are really freaking good. With all the mysterious messages LeBron and company seem to be trying to send these days, it's nice to see that one communicated so clearly. I tell you what, Cleveland Cavaliers last week was 4th. A lot of teams got this on the top of the list of the power rankings right now. It's just amazing to see what the Cleveland Cavaliers can do if all the right pieces are working. And it's just one of those things. It's crazy because we've seen this Cavalier team play amongst the best this year, and then we've seen this Cleveland Cavalier play amongst the worst. And there's no rhyme really or reason behind any of it. It just there's no rhyme or reason behind it. It just, I don't know. And I think this is what frustrates the Cleveland Cavalier fans. I think this is what has a lot of the NBA experts not putting Cleveland in the serious conversation of winning the championship. I think you got Golden State. I think you got San Antonio, and you know, unfortunately, I think Toronto's raised some feathers, and you know, Miami's been raising some feathers as of lately, but nobody wants to put Cleveland in a serious conversation of winning a championship, and this is, you know, the prime example and the, you know, key reason. The inconsistency. We're yet to see if these pieces that Cleveland went out and got, if these pieces are the right pieces. If these pieces are the perfect pieces for this team. You know, we talked about, you know, the Golden State Warriors. They might not be a roster full of superstars or elite players. They just have a bunch of perfect pieces. And, you know, San Antonio, they have the perfect pieces, but they're little superstars. There's teams out there that function like Boston. They might not be, you know, a bunch of elite players. That's just the perfect pieces for that team. And we're yet to establish whether or not the Cleveland Cavaliers have, if these pieces are going to fit and be a perfect match, or if this project is eventually going to be a lost cause, and they're going to have to substitute some of the bigger key pieces in order to find the perfect pieces. Obviously, the trade for Channing Frye was, you know, your first, I think our first indication that the Cleveland Cavaliers front office finally realized that they did not have all the pieces, the perfect pieces, that they had a lot of key pieces, but of that 13-piece that puzzle piece that they have, they're a piece or two short of having a complete puzzle. And, you know, Golden State has figured it out. San Antonio, I mean, Golden State's still 59-6. It's crazy. I don't know if it was just crazy or that, or the fact that you got San Antonio 56-10, 56 games in, that we got two teams with 10 games, 10 losses or less. I think that's insane to me. What the fact that you got 4 teams that have 20 losses or less here, that we are 65 games into the season, with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors thrown in there. And I don't want to leave out the Charlotte Hornets, who are on a 7-game win streak and are making a lot of noises out there in the Southwest or Southeast. Well, when I talk about teams that, you know, are starting to get a lot more talk. Now, Cleveland gets an opportunity tonight to kind of show us, you know, how much farther along they're coming with the visit to Utah. Not that Utah is a serious threat with that 31-35 record, and really not been in the conversation of playoffs for a very long time, and I don't see that turning around at any point this season. This season is pretty much a lost cause for them. But the Cleveland Cavaliers got an opportunity to kind of show us, you know, how much further along the team is coming, and whether or not the pieces are if they found their final piece of that puzzle. Because honestly, they're really only about a piece out. I think the Joe Johnson, obviously, trade would have really helped them as well. Not trade, but if they'd have been able to acquire Joe Johnson, I think that would have been a perfect opportunity. And obviously, Joe Johnson had his eyes set on Miami, and obviously that's where he landed and where he wants to finish his career. But the Cleveland Cavaliers have an opportunity here to do something very remarkable, and they are just as capable of beating any team in the NBA. Do I think that they are a team that is on the path to be able to beat the Golden State Warriors in a best-of-7 playoff situation? I don't think the pieces are there yet. But any other team, yes, I think that they could beat them in the best-of-7 series, and on a one-on-one, I think that the Cavaliers could get a couple out of 7. Out of 7 tries. I just don't think that they can get the majority out of 7 tries. I think if it comes down to Golden State and Cleveland, I think that they can. I think they can force 7 games this year. It would be tough, but we're gonna see. We're gonna see what their mindset is as we travel these last 15 to 20 games down the stretch here on where the Cleveland Cavaliers are and how well these pieces are fitting together. And obviously that will kind of reassure us and give us the mindset of what to expect and how these playoffs are going to kind of fall. And it is tough because us as fans, we go into the playoffs expecting to see the playoffs to fall a certain way. That's just how we are as fans. We expect it to come down to San Antonio and Golden State out in the West. We expect it to come down to Cleveland, and I don't know if anybody is really a clear-cut favorite. I could see Boston, Toronto, or Miami, or even maybe Charlotte to be the Cleveland Cavaliers' opponent, or be that other team. I'm not saying that they're going to come down to Golden State, San Antonio. How great would that be when it came down to the path of the playoffs would travel, where they didn't meet up and play each other until they got to the Western Conference Championship? That would be superb. Now, who knows how it's going to play off and how the paths going to how the paths are going to work. But it would be really cool if that's how it worked out. Is we got to see Golden State and San Antonio in the Western Conference, and Cleveland, and which one of those 3 teams. Honestly, I hate to disclude Charlotte, but honestly, I think Boston, Toronto, and Miami are really your 3 front runners to be the opponent for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And, it's kind of how, as fans, how we work things. We kind of we could just kind of have it set in our mind that this is how it should go, and this is how it's going to go. And so we're definitely keeping our eyes on that, and I think we're all going to be intrigued to see how and who gets the runs when they get the runs. So when they get the runs, there we go. ACCC. But definitely going to keep an eye on how the rest of the season rolls out. Tell you what, being here down in North Carolina, it is rather entertaining. Rather entertaining. Just because I got an opportunity, especially since a lot of the friends I have on my personal fan page are UNC fans. And what makes it trying to pull this up. What makes it entertaining to me is UNC fans going crazy because, one, UNC wins the ACC tournament, and then that one, for somehow or another, one reason or another, UNC lands a number one bracket spot, which is kind of funny to me. But anyway, what's most entertaining to me is the UNC fans going crazy because UNC wins the ACC tournament, and it acts like all of a sudden UNC is now the front runner favorite to win the tournament. It's nowhere close to being a front runner favorite. You do realize, UNC fans, that UNC really played nobody in the whole tournament. They beat a Virginia team. Whoop-de-doo. They beat a Notre Dame team. Whoop-de-doo. They did not play a couple actual legit teams that you have in your conference. Not that anybody really this year has been a legitimate threat. If you were in the Big 12 and you won your championship, your conference, I can feel a little bit. What am I doing here? What? Stop! Back it up. I can feel. I'm going to fill out my bracket as we do this, just for entertainment purposes here, as we get ready for this. But you beat nobody. It's not like you beat Kansas. It's not like you beat Oklahoma, two teams that are high favorites to win this tournament overall. You beat a couple ACC teams that haven't really been all that impressive all year long, and that's your claim to fame right now. And it's just entertaining me being down here in North Carolina. Let's go out in the South. I'm over on Yahoo, and they have a bracket that you actually can just click on and fill out as we go. So what we're going to do is just to see where this leads me at. Out in the South, we got Kansas and Austin, PA. I'm going to go, obviously, with Kansas. Colorado and UConn, I'm going to go 8th-ranked Colorado, 9th-ranked Connecticut. I'm going to go with UConn over them. 5th-ranked Maryland against 12th-ranked South Dakota State. I'm going to go with Maryland. Cali over 14th-ranked Cali. 13th-ranked Hawaii. I'm going with Cali. We got Arizona. It's going to be playing either Vandy or Wichita State. Either way, I'm still going with Arizona. Miami, Florida. Buffalo, I'm going to go with Miami, Florida. Iowa and Temple, I'm going to go with Temple with the upset over Iowa on that one. Villanova, 2nd rank against NC Asheville. I'm going to take Villanova in that one. Staying in the South, obviously I'm going to take number 1 ranked Kansas all the way. So, I'm going to take them all the way. But I'm going to take them over UConn. I'm going to take Maryland, 5th ranked Maryland upset over 4th ranked Cali. Wow, I backed that one up. Let's back that up. I need UConn there, but I need Kansas to win. There we go. So I got Kansas and Maryland in your Elite 8 there, or Sweet 16. Arizona and Miami, I'm going to take Miami over Arizona, and I'm going to take Villanova over Temple. That gives me a 1, 2, 3, 5 out in the South. I'm going to take Kansas over Maryland. I'm going to take Villanova, and then we got 1-2 matchup, and I'm going to take Kansas over to be part of my Final Four. Down in the West, we got number 1 Oregon. It's going to go against either HC or SOU. I'm going to take, obviously, Oregon. St. Joseph and Cincinnati. I'm going to take Cincinnati with the upset. Baylor versus Yale. I'm going to take Baylor. Duke and North NC Wilmington. I'm going to take Duke. Northern Iowa, Texas. I'm going to stick with Texas. Texas A&M and Green Bay. I'm going to take Texas A&M. Oregon State, VCU. I'm going to take VCU in the upset over Oregon State. Oklahoma, of course, I'm going to have them winning out here. Then we got Oregon and Cincinnati. I'm going to take Cincinnati. I think Oregon's going to be our first team upset. I've not been impressed with Oregon all year long. I'm going to take ninth-ranked Cincinnati, yes. That conference has been real tough this year, and I just want to take a leap in faith. Not that it makes a difference. I think Oklahoma's going to be our representative out here anyway. Duke and Baylor. I'm going to take Baylor over Duke. Duke couldn't even hardly stay in the top 25 all year long. Baylor, just tough conference this year. Texas and Texas A&M. I'm going to take Texas A&M, the Texas Battle of Texas, and then I'm going to take Oklahoma over VCU. VCU to take down the Aggies. UConn is going to lose to the Baylor Bears. I'm going to take Oklahoma to defeat the Baylor Bears. Then when we got out in the East, we got UNC is going to be victorious regardless of who their matchup ends up being against. USC and Providence. I'm going to take Providence over USC in an upset. I'm going to take Indiana over Chattanooga. Kentucky will take Stony Brook. Notre Dame will win over either Michigan or Tulsa. West Virginia will be victorious over SF Austin. I'm going to take Pitt. No, I'm not. I'm going to take Wisconsin, then I'm going to take Xavier over Weber State. Staying out in the East, I will take UNC over Providence. I will take Kentucky over Indiana. I will take Notre Dame over West Virginia in an upset there, and I will take Xavier over Wisconsin. Then what I will do is I will take number 4th ranked Kentucky in that bracket, upset UNC, and I will take Xavier over Notre Dame, and then I will have Xavier being your representative out in the East. So now I will have a Final Four of Kansas and Xavier going in your top 2 brackets. Oklahoma, who will your opponent be? I have Virginia. I have Virginia over Hampton. I have Butler over Texas Tech. I have Purdue over Arizona Little Rock. I have Iowa State over Iona. I have Gonzaga upsetting Seton Hall. I have Utah over Fresno State. I have Dayton staying alive for another round, and then I have Michigan State over Middle Tennessee. As we continue on, I have Virginia over Butler. I have Iowa State over Purdue. I have Gonzaga still continuing the Cinderella story over Utah. And I have Michigan State continuing over Dayton. Then I'm going to have Iowa State with an upset. I think we're going to have a Big Ten matchup out here. I'll have Iowa State and Michigan State, which I'll end up having Michigan State. So the way I'm looking at it, my Final Four are going to consist of Kansas going against Oklahoma to either face Xavier or Michigan State. I know, very interesting. Very interesting. I think that Oklahoma on the big stage, I think is finally going to uphold and is going to be able to be victorious over Kansas. Finally, the first time this season to be able to be victorious. And I cannot count out Michigan State. I'm looking at an Oklahoma-Michigan State matchup, and I think that Oklahoma is going to end up being my final winner. I think when it's all said and done, it's going to go to a Big 12 team, and I think that Oklahoma, after everything is said and done, and the ups and downs of this season, and the fact that Reed stayed another season just to better himself and give him a better opportunity of a better drafting position. I think that I'm going to pick my winner too. Anyway, I'm going to continue this later. But I think Oklahoma will finally be able to do what it's got to do to win this championship this year. It's probably not how it's going to go. But that, and as I did it, that was the first I've actually looked at the bracket today. With everything else going on, and then the other show, and then articles we got going on over, and press releases we got going on over at the blog sites, I hadn't really had much of an opportunity to really even look at it today. So you got to see it firsthand, or you got to hear it firsthand as I filled it out. So that's what I got. Curious to know who everybody else's Final Four is looking like today. So do me a favor. Hit me up. At CJ Sports 1 on Twitter. Hit me up on Facebook, Mr. CJ Sports. Send me a message. Let me know who your Final Four is. Really, really curious to know. We'll see who we'll know your Final Four is, who you have winning at those matchups, and who's going to be your final champion. I'm kind of curious to see where everybody's at and who they're looking at as being the 4 teams that really get hot. I think that's the biggest thing that gets me about the whole tournament is it's all about getting hot at the right time. I mean, honestly, as long as you win your tournaments, you really don't have to do much all season long. It's not like you have to perform at a certain level or really, even put much of an effort into it. As long as when you enter your respectful conference championship, as long as you're firing on all cylinders and as long as you're firing on all cylinders, that's really all that matters. You can sit all your starters all day long and put up one of the worst seasons ever. But as long as you are good to go in a tournament and you take your tournament and get your automatic tournament bid, that's really all you need. And I think that's the funniest thing to me about this is I don't know. I don't know how I would play, how I'd want my season to play out, whether I would want to reserve as much as I could possible and go. I guess I wouldn't want to go all in on one season or on the tournament, because if you lose that tournament and you didn't build your resume good enough to be in the tournament, you're kind of screwed. But I guess if you're a mediocre team, a team that you know that your resume is not going to be good enough, would it be beneficial for you to kind of just work on the chemistry of your team, reserve your team's energy and rest your team, especially, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 games out before the tournament, so you are good to go, to make sure that you are prepared to go all in, to give yourself the best opportunity to win the conference. And that way you can increase your opportunities to get a bowl bid and be able to be in the tournament. If you're out there and you have no legitimate shot, why not? Why not try to give yourself the best opportunity to be in the driver's seat and put yourself in an opportunity that you can at least have a chance to get into the tournament. I guess is what I'm looking at here. And I guess there should be, looking at it, there should be kind of really two approaches to this season. There's teams, let's talk about the ACC. There's teams such as Virginia, Duke, and UNC that their resumes are going to give them an opportunity to definitely be in it. Then you got your other teams such as NC State or Pitt or, NC State didn't make it. Pitt obviously did make it. Do you game plan on giving yourself a ACC tournament run that is remarkable? I mean, obviously that's kind of what got NC State their championship originally. Was it was one of those Cinderella stories that they got in the tournament and they just happened to win their way out and got hot at the right time. Do you game plan? I wonder if that's even something anybody has ever really just sat back and thought about. Our resume is not good enough. Our strength of schedule is not going to be good enough. But let's focus on not exerting ourselves. Let's worry about coming out, getting the chemistry, getting the reserves in, and resting our starters throughout the season. And that way, when it comes to the conference championship, we're favorites to do this, so we get our bid that way. I don't know. I like those coaches that think outside the box, and that's where I would be thinking. Especially if I know that my resume is not strong enough, my team's not strong enough to post a season strong enough to be good enough to be able to get myself in the playoffs. I mean, that's just you see this in all facets of the sports, trying to change things up to set themselves differently than other teams or other drivers or whatever the case is, just to get one up, to get them an opportunity to get to their championship. And I just, I like thinking outside the box. I like those teams that do. I like that, I don't know, it gives you an opportunity to just kind of be in the conversation a little bit different. We got an opportunity last weekend to watch a great race of Phoenix. And I got an opportunity earlier to sit down and talk with Steve Billmeyer about it. And, we sat for about an hour and 20 minutes on racing, rubbing his racing, and kind of talked about some of the key topics of this weekend. And I still don't understand how race fans cannot be excited about what we're seeing in NASCAR. I honestly don't get it. What NASCAR has done so far in the first four races of this season has been probably by far the best first four races that I have yet to see in the beginning of the season. To know that the Daytona 500 came down to the closest finish in Daytona history in the Sprint Cup Series was the first indication of what this season was going to be like for NASCAR fans. And yet, if you got on social media, you would have swore that NASCAR put up the most boringest race, and that NASCAR is still just not getting it. And I'm not quite sure what these fans were watching that gets. We watched the closest race is I'm trying to. There we go. Watching Truex and Denny Hamlin come down and the move that Denny Hamlin put on and Matt Kenseth trying to block to be able to see that. And then we continued that next week when we went to Atlanta. And we got to watch another race come down to beating and banging. And we watched Jimmy Johnson outlast Dale Jr. to be able to win Atlanta. And then Las Vegas last week. In another race that was very tight in the Cobalt 400. As we watch Brad Keselowski, strategy and tires be able to withhold it. And then we watched again this week as we watched Kevin Harvick get battled by Carl Edwards and watch Edwards try to push him out the track in turn 3 and 4 and watch Harvick beat and bang on his door, and then watch Carl Edwards turn around and beat and bang on his door as they come to the start-finish line to give us the closest finish in Sprint Cup history at the Phoenix International Raceway. I don't know what else NASCAR has to do to start winning fans back over. I don't get it. We kind of talked about this last week, that where most sports are going in the wrong direction, and the only thing we can really point out that this sport is doing wrong, and it's not even this series, so it's kind of hard to throw this into this sport. The Sprint Cup Series is like the NFL, and the Xfinity Series is kind of like NCAA. So it's the same sport, but it's not the same thing. So it's kind of hard to throw. And now, obviously, watch Kyle Busch dominate once again another Xfinity Series race. That was one of the things we talked about as well. And so NASCAR really needs to work on that aspect of their sport. But when it comes to the Sprint Cup Series, I don't know what else NASCAR could do to make this sport any better. Where we're seeing tires be more of a factor into this race. We watched the vibration problems 2 weeks ago. We watched the melting beads this week and tire issues this problem because of the intense racing, the drivers having to actually race these cars. And I think this is honestly something that these cars worked. I don't think that everybody was prepared for the driving that these drivers were going to do, which is great. I love this because now we're seeing who the real drivers are. For them, they got to coast through because the car kind of did everything for you. Those days are over. NASCAR has put the packages into these drivers' hands where the driver, those are the ones that are going to do good, and we're getting to experience that. And this weekend was obviously no exception to the rule. Kevin Harvick dominated, I'm not going to say dominated the race, led 139 laps. He led the most laps. Wins the race, and what was the closest race wasn't what we're used to. We're used to him putting on a dominating performance, which is really weird to say when he led almost twice as much as anybody else in the entire race, to say that he did not dominate the race. But we're used to the Kevin Harvick that would get out in the lead and just pull away by a second or two. And that's kind of the extent of what we see of Kevin Harvick for the entire race. And that's not what we saw this weekend. Even once Kevin Harvick got out front, which is a little bit after the halfway point, he never ran away with it. And Carl Edwards and company made sure that they were always within striking distance. I think the most that he might have gotten up to was around a second or so. It just seemed like it never, maybe got seconds at one point. I can't remember at this point. But it wasn't a dominating performance, not what we're used to out of Kevin Harvick, which was kind of surprising. But then again, with the new downforce package, I guess, it wasn't at the same time. And then on top of that, with the teams finally starting to catch up. Joe Gibbs Racing, obviously another dominating performance with the 2, 3, 4, and 7th place finish with Carl Edwards second, Denny Hamlin third, fourth Kyle Busch, seventh was Matt Kenseth. Mark Schrift ended up finishing 14th, the pilot team for Joe Gibbs Racing. But once again, Joe Gibbs Racing showing how strong that organization is. And I don't know, this still has me scratching my head why Stewart-Haas Racing is leaving Chevrolet. The success that they are having and the lack of success Ford is having, I just don't get it at all at this point. And maybe it'll all come into perspective, I guess is the word I want to use right now, when they're racing and if they win a championship under Ford, then we'll kind of get the big picture of it. But I just don't I just still don't get the move right now. I'm sorry, but I just wouldn't leave a formula that has been very successful and a formula that consists of having an alliance with Hendrick Motorsports. To go over to Ford, you lose an alliance with a championship team, and you essentially give up what you have been doing successfully well with 2 championships since you've been there, Stewart. And I'm not sure. Kevin Harvick addresses future with Stewart-Haas Racing. Stewart-Haas Racing is moving to Ford starting 2017, creating speculation on the future of team drivers. Kevin Harvick, who has driven a Chevrolet since his first Premier Series start in 2001, addressed that head on Friday morning at Phoenix International Raceway. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't happen. Harvick said when asked if he would drive a Ford for Stewart-Haas Racing in 2017. For me, I'm in the best position that I've been in with my team. I feel that I have the best crew chief in the garage. It would be pretty tough to turn around and walk away from everybody who has been part of the building of everything we have built so far. Harvick, the 2014 champion, will make his 500th consecutive. He made his 500 consecutive starts on Sunday, and what he has done since he's been at Stewart-Haas in the short period of time that he's done at Stewart-Haas. I mean, he's led more laps at Stewart-Haas than he ever did at RCR in 13 years. What he's done over at Stewart-Haas Racing and being the veteran leader and being Mr. Consistent and obviously winning the championship last year and being in the contention to win a championship, 2 years ago, being in the contention to win a championship last year, speaks very highly of what kind of driver and how important he is to Stewart-Haas Racing. In a race questions, the same questions with Clint Boyer, with his alliance with Ford. Makes you wonder if Clint Boyer already knew, or if anybody knew. And this was a discussion that was, discussed, when they decided they were bringing Clint Boyer to the team. And if Clint Boyer knew, and he had an opportunity to make this decision without, or was it one of those things that, okay, now you're part of Stewart-Haas Racing, you're going to be here next year. Oh, by the way, we're going to Ford. I would love to know how that worked out and how that went. Because, some people are set in the ways, and some people, they have a lifelong, relationship with a certain mate, brand, sponsor, whatever the case may be, and some people just, they don't want to lose, their, doesn't want to lose their status quo, I guess, is the word I'm looking for, with, the lifetime relationship that they have with a certain sponsor or a company or whatever the brand, whatever the case may be. So, thought it was interesting. Great race, though. If you guys didn't get to see it, I got an opportunity to sit down. Very competitive. A lot of strategy, a lot of different interesting things. Danica top 20 finish. I don't know, just not been impressed with her this year so far. Most of last year, I'm not quite sure what has changed over there in that number 10 team. But, we went from watching Danica making mistakes and being involved with a lot of people, but running up front more often, top 15-ish, than lately where she's been staying out of maybe more trouble and having a lot less issues, but not running up front, not being relevant. And I think that's a big change that, is one, it's got to be addressed. Obviously, you can't continuously run when you're running, but I think it's a big adjustment for a lot of people to just not see that 10 car up front. And I think that right now, the way that Danica's running, it's really, really hurting. Really hurting her situation. We was talking earlier today, and we're talking about Rookie of the Year, and obviously Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney are your front runners for Rookie of the Year for 2016. And, we got in this discussion, and, I fully agree with Steve, and that we can only be so impressed with what Chase Elliott and what Ryan Blaney are doing, because they're in top product. They're in Hendrick and Wood Brother, which is an extension of Penske Racing, and so it's only so difficult for these two drivers. Then you have other drivers such as Chris Buescher, who doesn't get the opportunity, the same opportunities. And I guarantee if you put Chase Elliott in that 34 car and put Chris Buescher in the 24 car, that we would see better results, much better results out of Chris Buescher, and probably not the results that and probably not the same results that we've been seeing out of Chase Elliott. You got Chase Elliott, Chris Buescher, Ryan Blaney. You got Jeffrey Earhart making a run for the Rookie of the Year. He's got these drivers that unfortunately are not given the same opportunity. Our understanding of the rules, they take the best 30 out of the 36 races, and that's what you're judged on point-wise, where you finish. I would like to see NASCAR kind of revamp the Rookie of the Year process, because I don't feel that Chris Buescher's best 30 races by points should be matched up against Chase Elliott's best 30 races by points because of the teams that they're racing for. I think that there should be a voting process in a panel that does some kind of votes or some kind of process, because I think that there should be some consideration of what Chris Buescher has got to put in. I don't know. I just think there should be more of a voting process versus it being strictly points, because there are just certain things that got to be taken into place. And what team you happen to ride on is one of those things that, I'm sorry, that I feel that should be in consideration. I think that if Chase Elliott gets a 10th and Chris Buescher for Front Row Motorsports gets a 15th, I think that 15th place finish for the 34th team should hold more weight than that 10th place finish that Chase Elliott got in a Hendrick Motorsports. And sorry, I know that's not necessarily a fair, I'm not going to say not a fair way, but a way that I guess that people are traditionally used to when it comes to racing, because everything's based around points. And I know that's, well, then why would we do the championship that way? Well, championship's down to points. Championship based on wins and performance. When you're at the highest level, and then, I would say Rookie of the Year, to me, is a little bit different, because there's a lot that needs to be taken into consideration. It's kind of one of those things that in any other sport, you can win Rookie of the Year and not be on the best team or team that wins the championship. As a matter of fact, you can be Rookie of the Year and be on one of the worst teams and not even make the playoffs in other sports. So why does it require that in NASCAR, in order to be Rookie of the Year, you got to be on the top team? And that's kind of the point I'm getting at. I just feel that there just got to be a better way of doing it. I mean, Todd Gurley winning the Rookie of the Year last year and being with the Rams, there was no playoffs, there was no championship, but yet, he was in the running. Unfortunately, for some of these drivers, they're not even in the running because of the teams they race for. And so they should have the opportunity, same opportunity as everybody else. Chris Buescher, able to just barely be hanging on even in the top 35 as it is. But, just look what he's overcoming. This is Front Row Motorsports. They don't win races. Sorry, but they just don't. When was the last time Landon Castle won? Or David Reagan might have got them in victory lane at Talladega. I think he was with them when they put Front Row Motorsports in it when they got pushed by teammate Reagan David Gilligan. My bad. But I don't know. I just when I look at the point standings and I see Chase Elliott right now sitting in 21st, and I see Ryan Blaney sitting in 12th. And then we scatter all the way down to Brian Scott, who's sitting in 28th, and the job he is doing over there at Richard Petty Motorsports. And then to know that Chris Buescher is 35th, I guarantee that Chris Buescher and Brian Scott are working as hard, if not harder, than Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney, and might even be more talented because the last name is Elliott and because Ryan Blaney just happened to be at the right place at the right time and land an opportunity on a team that just happened to go to a full-time ride with the assistance of Penske. Now he's sitting where he's sitting. I don't want to take anything away from either one of those two drivers, because they had to, obviously show that and prove that they were deserving of these opportunities. But when we talk about something simple as Rookie of the Year status, I just feel that there should be more into consideration. There should just be more into consideration when we talk about the Rookie of the Year and what these young drivers got to overcome. I feel that you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting, more specifically, setting the drivers up, these young drivers up for failure, if you're already starting them off on a down note. If going into the season, Brian Scott and Chris Buescher already know that there's no way that they can win Rookie of the Year, that there's no way that they're going to find themselves in a let's backtrack. If they already know that they're not going to find themselves with an opportunity to be in the playoffs, into the chase, unless a miracle win happens. If they already know that the odds are they're not even going to win a race with the current team that they're with, unless a short race happens. And then you throw on the top of that already. Then you throw on top of everything already that's been stated that, okay, now you're not going to win Rookie of the Year as well. How are you going to, how are you going to keep these young drivers thriving to want to come into the sport, knowing that unless you have yourself put into one of the top 4 or 5 teams, that you are not going to do anything with your career? But on top of that, start them off on the mentality that you are not going to do a lot of things. You're just kind of filling a spot. How does that lift spirits? How does that motivate a driver? How does that make it where a driver is even going to really, I don't know, it seems that you're kind of setting them up for a path of failure. Yes, we're going to give you an opportunity to be out here on Sunday amongst the 40 drivers, but you're not going to win a Rookie of the Year, you're not going to win a race, and you're not going to win a championship. So, here you go. I mean, no wonder that, these young drivers wait until there's an opportunity open where, they then go drive for Hendrick Motorsports or Penske or Joe Gibbs Racing. And unfortunately, none of those rides ever open up. And now you're kind of forced to either staying in the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, missing any opportunities. I mean, NASCAR, you've got to make some kind of incentives to open up these rides. There's no reason why we don't have 40 cars out there. There's 39. If you open up opportunities for, these drivers and make it where it's enticing to be out there, I think that you would open up a lot more avenues and make more drivers want to take a chance at an opportunity at a no ride versus or at a low budget ride and a no ride at all. I mean, I don't know. I know it's kind of contradictory because if I'm a rookie and I'm Chase Elliott and I'm outperforming everybody, yes, I'm going to want to and expect to be, Rookie of the Year. But at the same time, like I said, it sucks that when you get 4 rookies that come on, that they're all in different on the team that they are. They're all on significantly different play fields. I mean, Hendrick, and then Wood Brothers, and then Petty Motorsports, and then Front Row Motorsports. All 4 different places with kind of 4 different expectations. I mean, Chase Elliott was expected to step into this ride and honestly win a race in the first season in a car make waves of Chase. I mean, that is what was expected. With Ryan Blaney, it was expected that you were going to have consistent finishes, probably somewhere between 15th and 25th place. Get first full season, Wood Brothers' back at being his first full season under his belt and kind of give something to build off, and that's kind of what they expected. Brian Scott, I think people were more expecting 20 through 30th. You got dad to sponsors, so there's really no serious threat or really no pressure. It's kind of one of those things, okay, you finally got your shot. You're the Paul Menard of 2016. Yes, you're a okay driver, nobody's going to take you serious, and that's why that it took your dad throwing sponsorship on a car. In order for you to have a legit, I'm not going to say it's really legit, even though Richard Petty Motorsports is getting better. That's more of the 43 side of the house. But that's the only reason you got as legit of a ride as you got. And then we come with Chris Buescher that we're expecting more probably 27th through 30th kind of finish with Front Row Motorsports. Maybe have good finishes at Daytona and Talladega. Not really expecting much out of the mile-and-a-half tracks and short tracks. As long as you stay out of trouble, you might come home with a decent finish. That's kind of what we're expecting out of these four rookies. And kind of outside of, I think, Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney have kind of switched. And I think Chase Elliott's more of, he's just kind of been wrapped up in other people's stuff and the misfortune of going through the grass at Daytona and tearing up his car. Ryan Blaney has been very good and very consistent, but to what extent do you give credit to Wood Brothers? To what extent do you give Penske Racing for their alliance? And then what credit do you give to Ryan Blaney after all that? I think that I just wish that there was a way to have this rookie class and every rookie class to have a way to be more competitive and take more things into consideration to determine your champion. Maybe reduce that 30 field. Maybe take, your top finish of Daytona and top finish of Talladega. Maybe a handful of your top mile-and-a-half tracks, one of the road courses, and a handful of or best finish of each of the short tracks or whatever, to make it at least a little bit more, instead of taking 30 races. It is hard for these smaller teams to be able to put the product up there and match it against the Hendricks and the Penske's for 30 of the races, especially with a rookie driver. And it's funny because I've never even been a Chris Buescher fan for nonetheless, but I know the world's not fair. I've lived that and experienced that. It's crazy because I sat here all day at the house and kind of thought about how much life has changed, even over the last 2 years, where I went from having 2 jobs and hanging out with people to, things went from a very kind of casual relationship between Shorty and I to it became an actual relationship to, at that point I kind of, eventually we ended up going through a few months after we finally made it a relationship, is it wasn't for about 13 months. And the car broke down, so it went to having one job, and I just went to, this is my life now. It's 110 and the house, and so I kind of secluded everybody out, and now I'm finding myself. Well, here we are. 3 weeks now? 2 weeks? 2.5 weeks? No, 2 weeks. God, when was it? Yeah, it's been 2 weeks exactly that I moved out and been living here, and finding myself saying, what was I ever thinking once again of secluding everybody? And here I have a whole day off, and I don't think I talked to anybody all day long until I got on the show, and I just kind of sat at the house, and I don't know, it's just kind of different. I'm looking forward to overcoming, this next chapter, and one of those things is, what we're doing here at the 110 and keeping myself occupied with that. That was one of the focal points and posted the bonuses of no longer being, living with somebody and being in that kind of relationship, was it gave me a free time to get to the gym, which I've been getting to the gym more. More focused on my children, which, I've had my son already more this month than I had him probably 6 months prior combined, and in the 110, which, I just think the adjustments and the reality of going from being around a bunch of people all the time to going around, to being around at least a house full of people all the time, to now just kind of seclude myself in the room. I think that it's kind of, I'm not going to say messing with me, but it's just one of those things that it's just kind of like whatever right now. And so got motivated today. It was what I needed to do. After I got out for a little bit and had to go to town. Well, I say go to town. Technically live right outside of town, but like I could throw a football back into town kind of thing. And got back and got ready for the show. Got some stuff published and everything else, but I don't know, just big adjustments, and you guys got to bear with me. And I do apologize to those over the I-95 Sports Radio Network. I feel so bad because, we send our shows over, and last night I meant to send over the Dirt Talk Hour, and I downloaded it, and while I was downloading it, I fell asleep, and I was knocked out. And I didn't realize until this morning at 11 o'clock, and I think normally they play back the Dirt Talk Hour earlier in the morning. And I sent it over and apologized, but I did feel bad. But I do apologize. I love being on the I-95 Sports Radio Network. I love those guys. A phenomenal group of people. Make sure you guys check them out on Facebook. But I did feel bad because I woke up this morning and I was like, damn, I fell asleep, and I was supposed to be sending that over, and what happened? It was just one of those things that things just kept piling up this weekend, and tired was one of those. Out front, of course, so, oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Say wide receiver Braxton Miller is worth the wait. Key stats: 24 catches, 329 yards, 3 TD receiving, 40 rushes, 234 yards, 1 touchdown rushing in 2015 after switching from quarterback to wide receiver. After a thrilling season opener against Virginia Tech, 3 catches for 79 yards, a touchdown, 5 rushes for 61 yards and a touchdown, that had some whispering Heisman after 1 week, Miller faded to the background a bit in the Buckeyes' loaded offense. But the 2-time Big Ten Player of the Year quarterback looked like a polished receiver and a dangerous playmaker again at the Senior Bowl practice, and he built on a good, not great combine with a 4.41 40-yard dash at his pro day. Best suited destination, Miller might not be instant coffee in the NFL, and he'll have to go to a team that is both willing to be patient with his development as a receiver, learning how to beat different coverages and set up defenders, and also manufacture his touches to make the most out of him. He'd be best in an offense that spreads the ball around, uses lots of 3 and 4 receiver sets, and willing to dial up a gadget play or two to get the ball to Miller's hands each week. Teams such as the New England Patriots, Minnesota Vikings, Kansas City Chiefs, Dallas Cowboys, Panthers, Steelers makes a lot of sense for Miller. Reason he'll rise in the draft: Miller is a special athlete. His 3-cone drill and shuttle times at the combine show that with great open field of running ability, so do his 2 1,000-yard rushing seasons as a college quarterback. He also appears to be quite coachable and fully committed to a position switch that really could really pay off in a year or two. NFL teams like his intelligence and personality. Reason that he might fall, and patient teams might want a more finished product on day 2 of the draft, and Miller is still very green at the position. He might not have tremendous special team value either, as he possesses neither elite size nor speed for a receiver that might never be a true number 1, even if he maxes out his potential. Scouting hot take: I'd take a chance on him. He slimmed down and looked good at the Senior Bowl practice. The Dallas Cowboy coaches seem to really like him there. He's competitive and wants to get better. AFC West area scout. I tell you what, it says a lot. Braxton Miller has the natural talent, and it says even more about his willingness and his dedication to the sport. To see him go from being a quarterback, which I was never really a big Braxton Miller quarterback fan. I'm just not. That's just not my type of quarterback. The read option, the running, I can't do it. And he, part of the reasons are, in what we've seen in Braxton Miller's college career, is injury, and that scares me. So when my team is drafting, I don't want a quarterback. I don't want a quarterback that's going to be running the ball a lot. I want a quarterback that's going to be passing the ball a lot. And Braxton Miller just was never that quarterback. Now, as a receiver and as someone in the open field with his size and his speed, yes, I do like that. I think Braxton Miller, with more work, will show to be a useful, very useful target. I would even, when they're mentioned teams, I would even like the possibility of Green Bay in there. That was the first team that actually, went to my head. When we talk about, I know it's about 3 and 4 receiver setups. I'm more looking at the fact that Aaron Rodgers loves to dish the ball around. There's just no one particular hot receiver. Yes, Jordy Nelson gets the majority of the catches, but Jordy Nelson is Jordy Nelson, and they like that combination. But Aaron Rodgers has no problem of having 8 to 10 receivers touch that ball. He has no problem of giving it around. And if Jordy Nelson's not there, Jordy Nelson's just not there. And he's got other targets that he likes to use and utilize. And I think that having a quarterback of his caliber and his capabilities of spreading the ball around so effectively, and that would take the pressure off of Braxton Miller, I think that would be a great fit there as well. Like I said, I think that was the first team that actually popped in my head when they were talking about Braxton Miller. And, it just says a lot about Braxton Miller, and it's going to be interesting to what team does have the patience and is willing to take a chance on a player that, and I hate using the word take a chance, because Braxton Miller has done show that he's willing to go above and beyond and play at a level that he plays at and perfect whatever circumstance that he is put into. And I would really, I'm really interested to see I would really like to see, what team does take that chance and what the cap is on Braxton Miller. I think we're scratching the surface, and we're getting an idea of what kind of talent Braxton Miller truly holds. But I'd like to see that how far up the ladder Braxton Miller is actually able to carry himself to, and where the hard work and where the knowledge for the sport will take him. Steelers wide receiver Martavis Bryant suspended at least 1 year. Martavis Bryant's blossoming NFL career took another significant hit Monday when the NFL suspended the talented but troubled wide receiver for at least 1 year following another violation of the league's substance abuse policy. This is the second league-mandated discipline for Bryant. The 24-year-old sat out the first 4 games last season following the violation during the offseason. Bryant caught 50 passes for 765 yards and 6 touchdowns when he returned in Week 6 and was dynamic in the playoffs. He made an acrobatic touchdown grab in the wild card win over the Cincinnati Bengals and accounted for more than 200 yards of total offense in a loss to Denver in the divisional round, a game the Steelers played without All-Pro Antonio Brown. The Steelers pointed out to Bryant's development heading into 2016 as key as the franchise getting back to the Super Bowl. Now they'll have to make the journey without the 6'4" speedster who is among the most physically gifted players at the position. It's a shame because the Cleveland Browns had to experience the same thing with Josh Gordon and what he was able to do for the Cleveland Browns and just could just not do the right things and stay from being suspended. And it's really sad. General Manager Kevin Colbert said in the statement the team was disappointed in Bryant for putting himself at risk, adding Bryant as the crossroads in his professional life. He needs to understand significant change that needs to occur in his personal life if he wants to regain his career as a Pittsburgh Steeler, Colbert said. We are hopeful Martavius will take the necessary stops to develop discipline in his personal life to become a successful player and a good teammate. Bryant has 2 years remaining on the deal he signed after the Steelers took him with the 118th overall pick in the 2014 draft, a selection that has looked like a steal when Bryant managed to get on the field. He averaged 21.1 yards per reception as a rookie, and the Steelers went 8-2 down the stretch in 2014 after Bryant finally made it off the inactive list and into the lineup. His initial suspension announced near the end of training camp last summer seemed to catch his teammates off guard. Bryant spent some of his time away from the club down in Houston working with former NBA player and coach John Lucas, who operates a treatment facility. He came back chastened, offering an apology to his teammates and thanking quarterback Ben Roethlisberger for his guidance. Roethlisberger, who kept in regular contact with Bryant during the suspension, likened Bryant to a little brother. It's a shame that you see these players with all this talent, and they just can't keep their personal life from tripping up their professional life. And it just, I don't know, it cracks me up because there's no reason with the opportunities you're given to screw this up. I mean, doing something that you're not supposed to do or get paid millions of dollars, I don't even know how this even weighs out as an option and how people screw this up. I just really don't get it. You know, us as Cleveland fans, we've been holding on to the hopes that we would have a glimpse of what it would be like to have Josh Gordon for his career, a whole season, like to know what he's been able to accomplish when he's been on the field. And if we could ever get a quarterback and honestly a running back to help spread out the field, I mean, what the possibilities are. Unfortunately, they let Benjamin go this year. Who knows what the deal is with Terrell Pryor, and now it's still uncertain whether or not Josh Gordon is going to be, on the field for us. And, fortunately for the Steelers, they have 2 other really good receivers, and they have a quarterback. So, it's not such an impactful hit as it is for the Cleveland Browns, but it's tough for these teams. You think going into the season that you're going to have this player, and this player, and then, here we are getting closer and closer to the season, and now, they're finding out, at least it's now, not, come mid to late summer, and you have no clue. until then. And so you're running around trying to, fill those pieces. I mean, obviously that is definitely a plus for obviously that is definitely a plus for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it's crazy to me that we have grown professional athletes and they can't manage to get their life straight enough to be able to take advantage of an opportunity of being a professional athlete. I just there's so many people out there that just would give anything at the opportunity, and here we are, and we got guys that get the opportunity and don't care, just kind of let it go to the wayside, and it just kills me. Mark Sanchez vows to start for the Denver Broncos. Yes, that was another thing that happened in the last show. We talked about that Brock Osweiler went ahead and took that contract at Houston, and the fact that Peyton Manning retired, and the Denver Broncos went from having no starting, having two legitimate starting quarterbacks to having no starting legitimate quarterbacks, and they still yet have a legitimate starting quarterback, but they have Mark Sanchez, who vows to be their starting quarterback. Does not mean he's a legitimate starting quarterback, but vows to be their starting quarterback. Mark Sanchez is thankful for a fresh start in Denver, emphasis on start. Sanchez said Monday that General Manager John Elway told him to come in and compete for the number one job with the Broncos. And what a re-aggravating feeling this is. This is an opportunity I am going to squander, the 29-year-old veteran said Monday during his introductory news conference at the team's suburban headquarters. The Broncos acquired Sanchez from the Philadelphia Eagles last week for a conditional 2017 draft pick after the Super Bowl champions lost Peyton Manning to retirement and Brock Osweiler to free agency. Sanchez, due $4.5 million in the final year of his contract in 2016, said the trade caught him off guard, but as it sunk in, he quickly realized how fortunate he was. Sanchez, and I'm not understanding this, with Tim Tebow still out there, how does Mark Sanchez have an opportunity at a starting job, and yet Tim Tebow doesn't? I'm not the biggest Tim Tebow, and statistically, yes, I know that Tim Tebow is not a great quarterback, but when it comes to every aspect of the sport, Tim Tebow is great, and we saw how a team will rally around. As a matter of fact, the Denver Broncos team will rally around Tim Tebow. Mark Sanchez, really, even throwing out the whole butt fumble thing, and really, this is Mark Sanchez. You don't try to be Peyton Manning Sanchez that obviously we'll let number 18 sit on the shelf there for a while. We'll let somebody else take that number. That's just rarefied air. I'm so impressed with what he has done and would love to learn as much as I can from him and the guys who have been with him. But, you've got to be yourself and work as hard as you can. Be the best version of yourself and give everything I've got to them. And he's eager to make his own. Well, Mark, I wasn't a part of anything last year, so I'm not hanging on any coattails that way. I'm eager to win. I've seen a lot of things in this league. Sanchez said, I'm not married. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have kids. I just want to play ball, and I want to win. I really want to win. I'm so lucky to be in a sport like this, so every waking moment, that's all I'm thinking about is an opportunity like this. And all I want, and that I want to win and I want to play here. Sanchez spent the first 5 NFL seasons with the Jets, helping them to get to the AFC Championship game in his first 2 years by winning playoff games on the road against teams led by Manning, Tom Brady, Carson Palmer, and Phillip Rivers. Was the 5th overall pick in 2009. NFL draft out of Southern Cal, eventually lost his job in New York and spent the last 2 seasons as backup in Philadelphia. Sanchez, who went 0-2 as a starter last season, said he's a better quarterback for all he's been through. I'm battle-tested, he said. I've been through the fire. I've been through some tough media markets, played in some great games. I've seen the highs and the lows of this league, and I'm just eager to get started. This is an incredible opportunity. The only other quarterback on the Broncos roster right now is Trevor Siemian, who just took one snap as a rookie last season, a kneel down against Pittsburgh. Elway will likely draft another quarterback next month and could very well add another veteran either through free agency or another trade. None of would change Sanchez's mindset. Come on, let's go, let's compete, man, Sanchez said with a smile. Sanchez 37-35 as a starter. Sanchez, college career, Sanchez, New York Jet career, Sanchez, Philadelphia career. None of any of those runs anywhere has said Sanchez starting quarterback. I'm sorry, it just has not. With Jets and their run, a lot of it had to do with defense. There was just a lot to do with that. When it comes to every other aspect and anywhere else he's been, Sanchez has been mediocre at best quarterback. And all jokes aside, I probably would rather have Tim Tebow as my quarterback than I would Mark Sanchez. I would feel much more comfortable with it. I would feel like I have a better opportunity of winning games if I had Tim Tebow as my quarterback. I don't know, just kind of blows my mind that this is the route they're going. I don't know. I just know that at the end of last season, you had two starting quarterbacks. Now you're looking at starting Mark Sanchez at the beginning of this season. You were the NFL Super Bowl champ. This quarterback barely completes 50% of his passes. He has 86 touchdowns and 84 interceptions. He has 86 touchdowns and 114 interceptions and fumbles. That's mathematically, it does not add up any which way you try to add it up. He's never had even in the first two seasons of them going to the AFC Championship, there were not stellar seasons. Barely 50% had the first season. He had more interceptions than he had touchdowns. Second season, he barely had the flip-flop, where he was just barely above water. And if you count the interceptions and fumbles, then no, he was still underwater. This is going to be a real, unfortunately for Denver, because they're all in. They were all in with the Peyton Manning. They went all in to make sure they won a championship, and they still have the players there to be all in. With the right quarterback and another piece or two, this team would be all in on this team would be all in winning a championship. But they would be good for a championship, but that's not the case. And now you have the pieces to be all in, but you're really back to rebuilding, because with your quarterback situation, you're not going to. Now this division has already shifted. I already said that Oakland was only a piece before they lost the pieces they did in the offseason. There was only a piece or two away from taking the West. They added a couple pieces, lost a couple pieces, so you were still a piece or two away. Removing any quarterback threat for Denver, that's just improved Oakland's opportunity and chances of winning this conference, or this division. Now it just leaves really you and Kansas City. And I'm sorry, but they draft the right piece and maybe add another piece in the free agency. I'm going to have Oakland as the team that I'm going to be looking at to win that division. I'm going to expect Oakland to win that that division. Denver just took themselves out of the conversation. They'd already lost being favorites when they lost Peyton Manning and Brock Osweiler. With the addition of Mark Sanchez, you kind of just eliminated your team, your name out of the conversation of winning the NFC West. And it's just crazy to know that you go from being the Super Bowl champions to a team that is no longer even in the conversation of winning the division. It's going to take a lot of obstacles, a lot of adversity, they're going to have to they're going to have to climb and overcome a lot of things in order for the Denver Broncos to even have a shot at this division or even a wild card, really, at this point. DeMarcus Ware, taking the pay cut to be part of that team to help with the rebuilding and well, not rebuilding, but being part of the right now. I don't know if I was DeMarcus Ware at this point, I would probably say, you know what, this ain't no worth it. Manziel, I don't know what took the Browns so dang long, but clears waivers, becomes free agent. Johnny Manziel was not claimed on waivers and officially is a free agent. I wonder if anybody it's one of two ways. Anything on Johnny Manziel. The Browns waived Manziel Friday, announcing the move in a short press release and offering no further comment. Players are generally subject to waivers for 24 hours and become free agents if they go unclaimed. The Browns releasing Manziel had been a certainty since the team released a statement in February and then refused to comment on him. His release becoming official had to wait for the start of the league new year because the Browns had rolled over their remaining 2015 salary cap money into 2016. Manziel had a little more than $2.1 million guarantee left on his rookie contract with the Browns. Manziel clearing waivers is no surprise, and not just because domestic violence charges against him in Texas are pending. It's hard to imagine any team would have considered trading for him before the Browns officially cut ties on Friday. I know that was part of the reason why the Browns were waiting, but I don't think anybody honestly thought that anybody was going to give the Browns anything. It's going to be a leap of faith for any team to sign Johnny Manziel as it is. There obviously will be somebody willing to, but this is going to be a team that Johnny Manziel will probably be the third-string quarterback and never really expected to play, and kind of one of those things that, okay, we're going to give you an opportunity to get your life straight and be on an NFL roster, and that way we know that you have some talent, and maybe someday down the road you might be able to benefit us, but we're going to get you for a very cheap price right now and give you an opportunity to fix your life and still be part of the game kind of situation. But I don't think there's going to be any team out there that's going to say, you know what, Johnny Manziel, we can get him for a small contract, and we can make him a starter or a backup and get out ahead. I just don't see any team willing to do that. I can't see any team willing to put their number one, number two quarterback spot on the roster in jeopardy of a player that might not, live to see, and I'm not talking about but live in the NFL to have that opportunity that will make it past suspensions and staying out of legal issues enough to be able to, be worth it. I just don't see that. Honestly, I don't think that the Patriots at this point are willing to, but more of that kind of system where you got Bill Belichick, you got someone that is kind of the law, the jury, and the executioner, and somebody that has already got Tom Brady, someone that's already going to have a strong backup, and Manziel's there to kind of learn, get his life straight, and if some freak accident was to happen to Tom Brady, or the backup that, okay, Manziel's talented enough and could play, but we're not expecting you to play. We're expecting you to kind of get your stuff together kind of scenario. It is, and I'm trying to think of another team off the top of my head that is that deep that Johnny Manziel would fit into a roster I know Dallas has talked about interest, and then they kind of took their name out of that hat. I think, honestly, if they had a legitimate second-string quarterback, that, yes, like, let's say that Tony Romo, comes back fully healthy, and let's say that they decide to go ahead and pursue RG3. Now, if they can get Johnny Manziel for a very cheap price, and Johnny Manziel is under the understanding that you're here to get your stuff together to learn from two quarterbacks that are better than you, that would probably work as well. But it's got to be the backup quarterback's got to be strong. It's just almost like a Tim Tebow situation. Your top two quarterbacks got to be good because you don't want anything to cause Johnny football popularity to rise for no reason. And second of all, you want him to focus on him and learning the game, but fixing his life, not have to be worrying in the pressures and just causing any kind of distractions or having any possibilities that, we need you to play this weekend, but here you are partying and now you're suspended or, not eligible to play or whatever the case is. So there's only a few teams that I can see being, set or capable of kind of taking on that. I don't know, Buffalo might be. Buffalo's pretty deep, and they're not that E.J. Manuel's really that great, and you got Tyrod, but Johnny Manziel really would be your third string, your third in talent there, so that would kind of be a good fit. If Vick still had Michael Vick and was counting on that, I think so. But with their backup situation, even though their backup played good last year, I don't think it was good enough that wouldn't disrupt things in that neck of the woods. Honestly, there's not too many teams that they're deep enough at the quarterback position that it would not disrupt things if you added Johnny Manziel. So, it's going to be tough. It's like I said, it's going to be a long off season for Johnny Manziel, waiting to see if anybody is willing to take an opportunity on him. I just, if I'm coming out of the Manziel camp, I'm not holding my breath on it. I'm not betting on it. I'm not. Granted, the best case scenario is that you're going to go a team that's well established, because that's all it can handle you, and it that is what it is. But unfortunately, at the same time, that there's a good possibility that you're going to be doing nothing more than holding a clipboard and handling a clipboard for a while, and that might be the extent of what your career is this year. It might be the extent of what your career is next year. It might be the extent of what your career is, period, at this point, because of the decisions you've made and the things you've screwed up. And, that's one of those things that with the situation with Johnny Manziel and his off the field issues, is that something that will make those worse? I mean, if you've got a drinking problem, is knowing that now you're at an all-time low in your career, you're going to be expected to hold a clipboard, make minimum in the league, and never play a game, and this might be the extent of your career. Does that drive somebody to drink even more and have even more issues, or is this a wake-up call and it will help him clean his act up and become a better person and a better athlete? I guess that's the bigger question, and what we're going to honestly have to find out, because one of the two things has got to happen. So. Don't forget, you can check out the 110 Nation Sports Show Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got Revenants Racing Monday nights. We had that tonight, 7 o'clock. Had a great time earlier tonight talking with Steve Billmeyer. We got the Dirt Talk Hour Sunday night, 9 p.m. We got Racing with Big Sweat, 9 p.m. on Thursday nights as well. And then, of course, we got the Happy Hour Garage. We used to have it on Sunday. For some reason, now PTR doesn't let me download shows on the same day that we have scheduled shows. It used to be I could download one show and then also have a live show, and that's how we were doing it. Now it won't let me do that anymore, so we're going to move that to a Saturday ordeal. So Saturdays at noon, we will have Happy Hour Garage, and hopefully since they're downloaded, maybe they'll let me download a couple of shows. We got about 3 or 4 shows to catch up on with that they have published over there at Happy Hour Garage, so looking forward to getting those on the network as well. Don't forget to check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. Check out our website, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Also, check me out on Twitter, at CJSports1, the 110 Nation, at 110 Nation. You can check out our fan page, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Someone's got Kansas, Oregon. Oh, someone had all the number ones in their pick. Man, that was too easy. I'm going a little different with that. As you missed earlier in the show, I ended up having it coming down to Kansas, Xavier, Oklahoma, and Michigan State in my Final Four, and I have Oklahoma winning 82-78 over Michigan State in the championship game. That's what I had it come down to earlier in the show as I was doing the tourney pick'em over on Yahoo Sports, where it actually just lets you kind of fill out the bracket as you press their names. That was really cool. So first time I saw the brackets was during the show, and I decided we would go ahead and see how my bracket would look when I got done picking out who I thought was going to win. So it was rather interesting. Can't wait. It's always fun bracket time. I tell you what. Some people just get so wrapped up in it. It's rather fun. And conversations are always intriguing when it comes to bracket talk. People are so humorous. Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy seeing people brag about their. I don't usually fill out brackets. I just don't. I just don't. The predictability of predicting 64 colleges to win. I mean, it just unrealistic of nailing it. So. Russell Westbrook records his league-leading 12th triple-double as Oklahoma City Thunder take down Portland Trailblazers 128-94. I was sitting there thinking about this the other day, and I had to reevaluate even my thinking process. So I was sitting there thinking, are the players really just talented, or are the teams just really or the team's really just lacking in talent. I mean, but then I thought about it, because the two front runners are Draymond Green, who has 11, and Russell Westbrook, who has. Then you have Russell Westbrook, that has 12. And obviously on the Russell Westbrook end of it, it's kind of due to the fact that there's only two good players on that team. The rest of it just a roster filled. And so that, to me, is more of, yes, he's talented, but it's because there's a lack of talent on that team. But then you got a team such as the Golden State Warriors. Well, I guess the same, because they're not loaded with a bunch of talent either. They just have the perfect pieces. I'm sorry, but I don't care how long you talk to me and how blue your face gets. You're not going to convince me Harrison Barnes is a great player or a good player. He's just a role player that just happens to fit perfectly. Livingston is another one. Andrew Bogut is another one. Klay Thompson's an all-star, but I'm not going to say he's elite or amongst the best. He's an all-star player, so is Draymond Green. So, I guess, would you rather have a team that is super talented that you wouldn't have to have so many triple-doubles and do so much, or would you prefer to have a player on your team or have a team that you got to have somebody that way to make things happen, to make things work? It's kind of one of those things that, you kind of do, damned if you do, damned if you don't, because, if you don't have that player doing it, then that means your team's got to be that good, and now you're relying on everybody. But if you're a team that relies on someone like a Draymond Green or a Russell Westbrook, what happens when they go down? Well, we've seen Oklahoma what happens to them when Westbrook goes down. How much does that affect Golden State if you don't have someone that has to carry so much of other people's responsibilities, the rebounding, and the blocks or the assists that normally someone in his position doesn't normally get? And I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword, because you wish that your other players were picking up that slack, so you didn't have to rely so heavy on one player. But at the same time, it's thankful, and you're glad to have that opportunity. So I don't know. Kind of have mixed feelings on whether or not it's such a good thing to have a league leading and have so many triple doubles in the season. Because I don't know if it says more about the player or speaks less about the team, that it requires you to do so much, and the other players have not, stepped up to their role and contributed what they need to be contributing. I guess it is more of what I'm getting at. Don't forget, tomorrow night we're back at this 9. Forward to being back. Glad this is another one this week, so we get a full week, and looking forward to it. Got to make sure that I thank the guys over at the Dirt Talk Hour. Great show last night. If you guys missed it, make sure you guys check that on the archives. Also got to thank I-95 Sports for them syndicating our show. Got to thank Happy Hour Garage for sending their shows over for us to syndicate. Got to thank everybody that's been doing everything behind the scenes. Another great month. Looking forward to continue doing this. Looking forward to tomorrow night having Izzo joining us at 10:30 to talk NHL, as we do every Tuesday night. Love having that opportunity to learn more and more things about the NFL. As Izzo sent over his agenda earlier yesterday, so looking forward to having an opportunity to get ready for tomorrow night's show tonight and get those things prepared. We talk about the NWHL Cup Finals, little college hockey playoff races, and for the wild card spots. So definitely looking forward to tomorrow night's show. Not sure if we got any guests. I ain't heard from Miss Lee, so there's a possibility we might have a guest or two. So look out for that as well. But tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Looking forward to it. You guys have a great night.
Thanks for listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ Sports. You are a part of the 110 Nation, so be sure to visit the 110nation.com for everything related to the show. You can follow CJ on Twitter at 110Nation and on Facebook at 110 Nation Sports. Until next time.
Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Earlier this week, Claire Tippins shared a princess nickname generator, 3 pictures of her dog wearing a tutu, and 2 online quizzes, including, what candy is your dream castle made of? Claire, your sharing has tipped the sugar scale and turned into oversharing. But have no fear, princess. Geico has something worth sharing with your internet kingdom, like how you could save hundreds on your car insurance just by visiting geico.com. No magic wand required. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.